Hello and welcome to today's video. This time we're taking a look at three new DC Finest graphic novels. We've got Aquaman, the King of Atlantis, Supergirl, the Girl of Steel, and Green Lantern, the Defeat of Green Lantern. Plus we'll be having a look at some speculation on the Facebook group about which titles might be coming out in the future. So sit back, relax, and let's get to it. So we'll start off with this one, which is Aquaman, which is the one I'm currently in the middle of reading. And this one is also the oldest sort of period in DC history, 1957 to 1962. But it's one that I was very, very much looking forward to because apart from reading a few odd like backup strips within the pages of adventure, I don't think I've read hardly any Aquaman at all. When he had his own series, I think I had a few in like the 30s and 40s, but nothing this early, and it's been quite nice to read these ones right from the very start. So this one was released or published on January the 7th, 2025, and the little write-up says the King of Atlantis collects iconic tales of the ruler of Atlantis, marking Aquaman's early Silver Age appearances. This volume is the perfect starting point for fans of Arthur Curry's retconned continuity that established him as the ruler of Atlantis and expanded his supporting cast to include Aqualad, Mira, Topo the Octopus, and more. It says it features art by Ramona Frandon and Nick Cardy. The King of Atlantis collects stories from Adventure Comics 229 to 280 and 284, Action Comics 272, Detective Comics 293 to 300, World's Finest Comics 125, Showcase 30 to 33, Superman's Girlfriend Lois Lane number 12, and finally Aquaman 1 to 3. Now this is 624 pages, so it's amongst the biggest of all the trade paperbacks that they've published so far. And I've got to admit, I have been enjoying this one with a few reservations. First of all, I mean, it is great to be able to read these right from the start, but because, if we have a look at the titles here, because the stories, and you get like 60 odd stories in here, but they're very, very short because they were backups. You know, they're like 6 or 7 pages each. And they're, as I said, pulled from the backup stories of Adventure Comics predominantly. Then there's a few Detective Comics at the end. Obviously the Showcase run as well, prior to getting his own series. Those are in there. There's the Detective one in the early 60s. This is the little detective run here. And then finally, we've got Aquaman 1, 2, and 3 from up to 1962. But, I mean, the artwork from the off, I think, is actually quite nice. It sort of suits it. I'd never read so many of these before, so they're all new to me. But because the stories are so short, the whole thing is wrapped up within just a few pages, and that's it. You're on to the next one. And it doesn't give any sort of chance, really, to, you know, get any sort of decent sort of continuity, no real, you know, in-depth stories of any sort, really. As I said, they get better as they go along, but these early ones, these backup ones, are not perhaps the greatest, but still brilliant to read because they're all brand new to me. I'd say it's a little bit more juvenile than, say, you know, the Detective or even the Supermans of this period, this sort of late 50s period. And obviously, you know, we do get Aqualad later on, which is, you know, sort of tying in Batman and Robin. He has to have like a ward. But, you know, these later ones, definitely it improves as it goes along. And the full-length ones, they're the best of all because you're getting proper Aquaman from when he had his own comic. And they do reprint the covers as well. These are some of the Aqualad ones. I can find one with one of the covers reprinted. There we are. So that is, in fact, Aquaman number 1. There it is. Not the greatest story. I think 2 and 3 are much better. Nothing very iconic about Aquaman number 1 is there. But it was a good, fun comic. I mean, it's just not quite in the same league as some of the bigger guns, like Batman, for example. It's just not that sort of thing. But it is still great. And you can see it's consistent. You know, it feels right. It's a typical sort of DC title. And I'm very, very glad that they've done it right back to the very earliest appearances. Unlike, say, the Green Lantern, where they've sort of jumped in a little bit. You know, they've like missed the first volume. But this is great. And I do also like the fact that it does have all these comics in chronological order across, there's maybe 6 different titles there. I think that's really good, and that is what I really love about these DC finds, is that they are pulling together even the more slightly obscure stuff and putting it all into the one volume in the exact proper chronological order. It's good stuff. Right, now the next one I've got is Supergirl. Now, Supergirl, once again, it was a bit like Aquaman in that a lot of the titles were backup strips from Action Comics, but I'll read you what it says with the write-up first of all. So this was also published on January the 14th, and it's Supergirl, the Girl of Steel, and a lot of these are written by Otto Binder. So it says, Kara Zor-El soars into her very own DC Finest collection. In the Supergirl from Krypton, Kara lands on Earth and discovers that she possesses all the same powers as her cousin, Superman. Inspired by her famous kin, Kara adopts a secret identity and uses her powers to help those in need. This inaugural volume contains Supergirl's appearances from 1959 to 1962, so still quite early, and taken from the pages of Action Comics 252 to 288, Adventure Comics 278, Superman 139 and 140, and number 144, Superboy 80, Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane 14 and 20, and Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen 40, 46, 51, and 57. And once again, this one is also 608 pages. So it's a 600-page pluser, which I think is fantastic value. I really like the art style on this. I love the writing. I think Otto Binder's a great writer. So let's have a little look at the introduction here. So we see not quite as many stories as Aquaman, but still great value for money. Look at them all. And yeah, just tipping in May 1959 with the very first page, which is itself Superman. It's Action 252 rather. Yeah, look at that, introducing Supergirl. And they actually did a really good job of this. This could have so failed miserably, couldn't it? I mean, it really could. There it is, quite an iconic comic, that one I shall never own as an original. Very expensive, our first Supergirl. But look at this, great artwork right from the off. And you could see that Action Comics, it rather, was just an absolute flagship title for DC at this time. It really was. And as I said, Otto Binder, a great writer. Really great. So this is, I would say, definitely the next step up from Aquaman. Do you get the old guest star, of course, in here? And it's great that Supergirl can cross over in the Superman family of titles, and we got representations here from all of it. Now, obviously, late 50s, you're going to get your percentage of the silly Superman stories, same as we had with Batman, 8 different shades of kryptonite. You know exactly what I mean. And that's what these earlier ones tend to be, but not all. So if we go more to the second half of the book, you'll see that the art style is consistent. I think it's very high quality. And there's a bit more of a story here to get stuck into. Very cool. The colouring on these is fantastic, or I should say the recolouring rather is really fantastic. And I don't know, there's a lot of this sort of stuff. Yeah, Linda Lee, it's like appealing to the female market. Did they want young girls to be picking up Superman or Action Comics? I mean, I guess so. I mean, apart from, Supergirl and Wonder Woman, what were the other key female superheroes that DC had? As you can see, really great. None of these I've finished that we're looking at today. None of them I've finished cover to cover. Because I've now got so many, I think I've got 9 or 10 in my library now. I'm dipping in and out of them. The good nature of these is the fact that they are in almost all cases self-contained stories, these ones from the Silver Age. So you don't need to read huge long runs of them without taking a break. You can dip in and out of the different comics, much as you would back in the day. You pick up 6 or 7 different titles, and it wouldn't be a continuing story. It would just be that month's story. Anyway, high praise for this. Loads of, almost all of these I'd never read before. I've had issues of Action Comics, but the backup, the Supergirl backup, I probably would have skipped over, in all honesty. So these are new to me. They're surprisingly good. They really are. So yeah, I can recommend this one. I mean, I recommend the entire line, but this one, out of the three that we're looking at, is excellent. Yeah, very, very good stuff indeed. I said, you're not going to go far wrong with Otto Binder as the writer. Now, the last one we've got to look at today is one that actually came out in December. I did have this one by the time we did our last video, but I hadn't got round to having a proper look through it yet. So this is Green Lantern, in effect, Volume 1, but it's The Defeat of Green Lantern. And this was published in December the 3rd of 2024. So the little blurb on this one, it says, journey back to the Silver Age with Green Lantern Hal Jordan as he faces a multitude of foes such as Star Sapphire, Dr. Light, the Time Commander, Sinestro and more, all of whom will test the limits of his willpower, featuring works from revered comics writers and artists such as John Broome, Gardner Fox and Gil Kane. Now it says this one collects classic stories from the Green Lantern, numbers 19 to 39, Flash 143 and Brave and the Bold number 59. So this is another instance where they've the volume that precedes this one, which I wish they'd released first, has not been published yet. They've gone in almost at the second point. I admit that these stories are much better quality than the earlier ones, the ones that I've read at least, and we'll have a flick through halfway through first of all. But as you'll see, these are more, how can I describe it? It's like, because these have got, a lot of them are in space, they're not on Earth, not all of them anyway. The stories are much more involved. You can see there's plenty of text in these. If you compare this to, say, Aquaman that we looked at the start, you'll see this is going to take 3 times the time to read it. This is obviously a later period in history now. So we got these are 1963 to 65. So these are the most recent comics that we're looking at today, and they are great. They're very much of their time, but they don't have that element of, at least not quite as bad, of the stupid around them. The stories are actually quite serious. They're supposed to be sort of serious and thrilling, and I liken this much more akin to the Flash. In fact, there he is, akin to the Flash than anything else that we've seen today. The thing that still obviously going to look a little bit silly is some of the mysterious aliens and things like that come along, but that was sort of par for the course really at this time. So you're going to get this sort of stuff, but the actual character, excellent. As you can see, the artwork is really, really crisp. Such a great job has been done bringing these books back up to present day standards so that they can be read. I mean, in a way, you almost feel like you want it to be the pages to be a little bit more off-white than they are, because they look weirdly clean. So the nostalgia isn't quite there when you're thinking of reading. I may have read some of these Green Lanterns, probably some of these I read at the time, or when I had them in my collection as the original comics, and now that they've been all recolored so well and printed on brand new white paper, they almost don't look quite real, if you know what I mean. It's not that nostalgic hit, and you're only really going to get that by reading the original comics, of course, with all the adverts included. But this is still great, and there's plenty in here to get your teeth stuck into. These are proper stories. They're not 2-minute reads like the Aquamans are. There's plenty in here to get stuck into. And you may have noticed that I tend to go for the Silver Age ones. This is because a lot of these, I had some, but I never had full runs of them. And the way that they're publishing these in strict order with like little appearances from odd comics here and there, so that everything is included, I absolutely love that. I just love the way that they're publishing them chronologically. So that's Green Lantern, and that's the 3 that I bought. Now, I think they are great, and I'm having a bit of speculation at the end about which ones I'm going to be looking at next. Now, I have mentioned in the past that there's a great DC Finest Facebook group, and I'll try and remember to link to it. I think I did last time, so you can go along and join that one. And there's lots of speculation about future volumes. So this chap here, Andy Cavalier, he has written a couple of really, really great posts about books that he thinks he would like to see. So I think it's very likely that we'll get a horror genre volume. So I thought I'd map out the most obvious candidate. So DC Finest Horror, Do You Dare Enter, 1968-1969. And he says this would collect stories from House of Mystery, 174 to 182, House of Secrets, 81-82, Unexpected, 107 to 115, Witching Hour, 1 to 5, 616 pages of content. And he's even worked out the page count, which is just incredible. So highlights would be The Game by Neil Adams, Eternal, Hour, Alex Toth, The Widow's Walk, Adams and Orlando, The Trip of Fools. Yeah, look, Sirens of Satan, a couple by Bernie Wright's in there. It starts with House of Mystery 174 with its iconic cover fronting the volume, and wraps in Unexpected, Witching Hour, and the first two House of Secret issues once it joined the party. You could make the case to include the last couple of issues of Spectre, when it became more or less a horror anthology, or even the beginning of the Phantom Stranger revival. But I think those two stand apart and merit separate lines. I would agree with that. A lot of great stuff by Adams, Toth, Wrightson and company. About half of the book, the portion from Unexpected and Witching Hour, hasn't been collected in colour before, if I'm not mistaken. So, that is a fantastic suggestion. I think in the comments on that one, a couple of people said that potentially some of those titles, like House of Secrets, House of Mystery, may end up getting their own titles. So, we'll have to wait and see. So, Durley Inkling. Man, this looks nice. When are the next batch of announcements? I hope they continue to pump them out and grow the DC Finest line. So he's taken a great shot of his current DC Finest library, all in a row, all alphabetical, exactly how I'm going to be doing mine. And it's true, we are we're a few months in now. It would be nice to think that DC perhaps are finalising the next 3 months worth of titles. Adam McDonald. I was so excited to get my first 3 DC Finest books from Amazon until I opened the package. It had 0 package protection and was essentially 3 books in a flimsy box being manhandled on their way to me. I hope to smooth out Batman and Superman with help from the Avengers, but why the heck would they not put any bubble wrap on the books they ship? For sure the Green Arrow is being returned, and if you have a look at the pictures there, you can see his copy of Green Arrow has been biffed at the top there, and he's put his creased Superman and Batman under those great big Avengers books. Now, if you have a look at my copy of Aquaman here, this one also turned up with a tiny nick in the top of the cover, which I was a little bit annoyed about. And I have had some, when I've ordered 2 at once, I've had the 2 books squeezed into an Amazon mailer, and the top or the corners have got damaged, and I've sent them back. And my little trick that I would advise you is, if you're ordering them from Amazon, order them singly. It's fine. Obviously, if you're trying to combine shipping and save a bit, then you've got really no option. But if you've got Amazon Prime, if you get the books ordered separately so that they don't come on the same day, I've not had an issue since I've started doing that. Now, another one from Andy Calavier. And so what would a DC Finest Western look like? So, in my honest opinion, the most fertile ground would be either the tail end of Julius Schwartz's run, 59-61, or DC Western revival period 68 to 72, which would encapsulate Batlash, Firehair, Son of Tomahawk, and culminate with the debut of Jonah Hex. Very few of these stories have been collected before in colour. I went and mapped both as follows. So DC Finest Westerns, Six Gun Showdown and Madam 44, featuring stories from Western Comics 76 to 85, All-Star Western 107 to 119, 610 pages, and there he lists the ones. And then he's got the the second one, DC Finest Westerns, Will They Save the West or Ruin It? 68 to 72. Now, this is a period I'd be more interested in, featuring stories from All-Star Western second series 1 to 11, Backlash 1 to 7, Showcase 76, 85 to 87, Tomahawk 131 and 140. I would also like to get a bit of Jonah Hex in there somewhere as well. But yeah, I think hopefully Westerns is just a matter of time. Now, this was a good one. So if you had the choice, would you prefer DC Finest to A, showcase a host of DC characters across the whole range with best and interesting stories, but not necessarily complete runs, or the second option, focus on key characters and build up complete runs? Now, this has had 13 replies. He says, I know the answer may be both, but the worry is spreading themselves too thin, many books not selling and the line imploding. So the overall comments, and I've got some of them down here, are that people would prefer them to be complete runs. That seemed to be the general opinion from looking through the comments here. I would like complete runs. That's definitely how I would like to do it. Nate Drake just joined the group. Thanks for letting me in. Forgot to pick up Doom Patrol this week, but look at that. What a nice little run he's got there. And then this is the last sort of Facebook comment. This is amazing, this one. So this is from Jeremy Smith. Most wanted DC Finest new line. Now, there's 122 comments on this one. That very first one there from Adam Beebe, All-Star Squadron tops my list. Then all the uncollected Jonah Hex. It's funny how often All-Star Squadron actually crops up in this list of what people were looking for, because I got to admit, it wouldn't have crossed my mind. So we got Brian Rometsky says Martian Manhunter, Fourth World, Captain Atom and Hawkman. I put Martian Manhunter first because he's a very underrepresented character, and this line would be a great way to get his stories out there. Captain Atom needs the Bates Weissman series collected, true, and this is probably one of the easiest ways to see it happen. Fourth World is well collected, but it would be just cool to see in this format. And that's true. Even though stuff may have been reprinted before in beautiful colour, I'd still like to get these affordable DC Finest editions. Rick Lightbourne, Sergeant Rock, Unknown Soldier, Jonah Hex, all of those are on my list. Captain Marvel, starting from Volume 1. Just going down here, Shazam, the Golden Age Shazam, Warlord. Sandman Mystery Theatre, not so sure about that at the moment. A few people mention Martian Manhunter again. Captain Carrot and his amazing zoo crew. Well, why not? One I definitely would like to see is Elongated Man. Those backup strips. And then I think he did have his own series, didn't he? So, yeah, Elongated Man would be one that would be on mine. Definitely Jonah Hex. Definitely Dead Man. The sort of adventure comics run into the solo. Yeah, there's a few there. Yeah, 70s horror turns up again and again. Obviously, something I'd like to see. Yeah, some good stuff. Anyway, there's loads and loads of speculation there, so I do suggest you go and find that on Facebook. Now, finally, here's a little shot of my collection as it stands so far. So you'll notice I'm predominantly going for the Silver Age or Golden Age titles, not so much on the Modern Age stuff. I will get that in time. I'll probably ask for that as presents for birthday and Christmas from various people to fill in those ones that I'm not massively keen on getting straight away. Don't forget to have a look at all the latest editions. I do suggest you go to the Ethan Hawke page, which is fantastic. Now, I often go to this page because I'm waiting for to see when they're going to update and announce the new ones. And it's I think it's a bit overdue, in actual fact, But let's have a look at the list and see which ones I'm going to be choosing. Yeah, so looking through this list, I think probably the next few on the radar for me is going to be Doom Patrol, which has recently been published. Definitely Plastic Man, which is out next week as I film this one. Not so sure about Harlequin, not so sure about Suicide Squad, but then we got the team-ups, which is also in March. So I think that's my next three. It's going to be Doom Patrol, Plastic Man, and team-ups. So, yeah, look out for those next month. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed this latest look at that fantastic line, DC Finest. I really hope we get the next titles announced very soon, and it will just show that DC are fully committed behind these. As I said, do check out the great Facebook group. There's plenty there, and it certainly gets you thinking about what might be coming out next. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed today's video. If you have, do please give the video a thumbs up. Do please hit the subscribe button if you've not already for regular vintage comic book content. And I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye.